Welcome back to our channel where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on the royal family. We provide you with the exciting news, 1 min ago, Buckingham Palace releases an update on the royal website, leaving Prince Harry and Meghan in tears. In early November 2025, professional royal analysts and the general public were quite interested in what they thought was a new technology that made the British royal family website better. On that day, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's pages were much shorter than they had been before, when they had long biographies that spoke about their educations, early occupations, and other personal details. The profiles of other members of the royal family stayed the same, including detailed information on their schooling, work history, and important life events. This made the missing information stand out. The difference between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's short biographies and those of other royals that are more detailed shows how many are worried about how updating or editing official life stories will change and what it would mean in the era of the internet. The changes were precise and quick. The Sussexes gave up their roles as senior working royals in 2020, 5 years before this, but without these changes. Instead, 5 years later, numerous claims were taken back, which suggests that the institution was reacting to a changing information environment rather than an administrative duty. The actions made in October 2025 were planned, responsive, and designed to meet growing demands, not just ordinary maintenance or an upgrade due to new duties. The royal household's decisions in October 2025 need to be looked at from 3 angles: the biographical claims that were taken out, the factual disagreements that had come up over time about those claims, and the strategic reason for leaving out controversial parts of the official record instead of explaining or justifying them. When an organization becomes more open and connected, it faces new opportunities and challenges. On October 1st, 2025, Royal UK users noticed pages for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex that were far shorter than usual. Long stories about childhoods, school pathways, early jobs, charity work, and personal experiences were replaced with short summaries. Prince Harry's essay spoke about his place in the line of succession and his time in the British Army, which included 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. However, it didn't reveal anything about his childhood or schooling. Meghan Markle's bio was also lessened. It called her a former actress known for her part in Suits, and the Duchess since she married Prince Harry, but it didn't include her past. The official story became increasingly limited. Instead of long stories about people's lives that included their family background, schooling, and early career successes, readers got short, nearly generic summaries that only included the most verifiable and uncontroversial facts. The importance of selective narrowing was quite high. There are full biographies of other senior royals on the website. The biography of Catherine, Princess of Wales, covered her educational background, such as her Master of Arts in Art History from the University of St. Andrews, as well as her first job history. Before she married Prince Edward, Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, spoke about her successful career in public relations. The biographies of these and other members of the royal family stayed the same. The difference between long, unedited biographies for certain members and short profiles for the Sussexes plainly showed that the royal household was picking and choosing what to say about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in order to shorten their history. The main concern for many watching was that certain biographical information was missing from the official site, and that the palace chose to remove it instead of explaining or fixing it. A full list of the deleted items reveals a number of topics that have been widely discussed and examined for years. The Duchess of Sussex's dropped allegations were about her academic qualifications, U.S. internship, and pre-royalty life. The embassy in Buenos Aires and a personal story about her high school grad night had both already been shared via official channels or made public remarks, which meant that they were open to outside criticism and inspection. So taking these things off the official site took off some of the palace's most important parts of the story, but it also left unresolved questions about how long they may last. The trend was not only a way to fix little mistakes, It was a way to systematically shorten a long-established public story. There was a lot of debate over the Duchess's further education. According to the royal household's biographical material, Meghan Markle graduated from Northwestern University in 2003 with degrees in theater and international relations. The idea was to create an image that worked well together. Theatrical training suggested a career in acting, while international relations suggested an intellectual interest in global concerns and public policy, which fit with both charitable and international positions. Independent researchers, Northwestern alumni, and others familiar with the university's academic offerings have noted a deficiency. Northwestern's undergraduate colleges lack a major explicitly labeled as international relations. Instead, international affairs and associated fields are integrated within degrees termed international studies or within departments such as political science. The difference between international relations and international studies may appear like an issue of vague language, as people sometimes use similar words interchangeably, particularly in casual settings. Still further questions made things less clear about what seemed to be a little semantic issue. University archivists say that the Duchess wasn't in the 2003 yearbook's graduating class portrait. The absence of a photograph, which was frequently due to harmless things like travel, an elaborate or costly photo shoot somewhere else, or a personal choice not to be taken, became important when compared to other claims that were harder to explain. Former co-workers say that she may not have been in school during her last semester. The fact that these ideas were wrong or based on wrong recollections or wrong identification made the original report even more controversial. Because of all these new questions, the royal household had a lot of options. The university may have clarified the biography by replacing international relations with international studies and providing reliable evidence of the graduation chronology. A clear strategy that included contextual data like course offers, degree awards, or university verifications would have made many people less skeptical. In October 2025, the palace took off all references to Northwestern University and particular degrees and majors from the Duchess's entry. Instead of fixing the mistakes this deletion took away, the controversial information from the site. Many people thought that the decision to remove instead of change was an implied admission that the original wording was more controversial than just being wrong, and that the allegations were not backed up. In this case, deleting the question left just quiet. An internship in the United States was left out of the Duchess's background before she became a royal, the Embassy of Buenos Aires. The Duchess said in interviews and public comments that her interest in global affairs and helping people came from Argentina. The royal website said that the internship was a planned experience program at a major diplomatic station. This argument uses language to make the subject seem like a person who has first-hand experience with diplomatic techniques and international concerns that would help them in public service. More facts make that framework more complicated. Sources at the embassy during the Duchess's engagement said it was an informal short-term arrangement in which she traveled with diplomats for a few weeks. Witnesses allege that retired diplomat Michael Markle, the Duchess's uncle, planned the celebration. An organized internship is different from a short shadowing experience that is set up via personal contacts. A structured internship has rigorous application procedures, clear learning goals, and assigned duties. The first means that an institution supports you and helps you go along in your profession, while the second means that you accidentally come into specific scenarios. The depiction of institutional experience in an official biography is dependent on that differentiation. The 2002 Argentina setting, sometimes linked to her location, made a prolonged, immersive internship impossible. After the economy crashed in late 2001, society went through a lot of changes. Public institutions are under strain because of protests, political instability, and worries about safety on overseas missions. Former embassy workers and observers stressed the importance of the U.S. The personnel at the embassy concentrated on managing crises and followed rigorous security rules that limited mobility and socializing. The image of a young student spending weeks exploring the city learning Spanish through immersion and getting to know the local culture didn't fit with the main duties of diplomats, which include consular security and managing quickly changing political situations in a volatile setting. The situation's incongruity made the first narrative appear like it was exaggerating how involved people were. The Duchess's October 2025 entry no longer included the embassy internship or the university-related charges. There was no difference between a formal internship and a casual shadowing visit, and there was no paperwork or schedule to explain her stay at the embassy. The silence, which had no explanation or correction, made the pattern that was starting to emerge clearer. Facts that had previously given the Duchess's official life narrative credibility were removed instead of being supported. Some people thought the deletion was a way to avoid responsibility, while others thought it was a way to protect against questions that were based on speculation or conflict. The institutional record was shortened, making it impossible to find the public claim. The story of Disneyland's high school grad night in 1999 was the third and least important part that was cut. Many high schools in the U.S. hold grad night, which is a celebration at the end of the year for seniors who are graduating. These festivities include supervised school-organized trips to amusement parks, beaches, and other places. The Duchess has spoken about the event with fondness, and Prince Harry has also brought it up in their talks. Immaculate Heart High School reported that the 1999 grad night was called off because not enough students signed up to meet the minimum participation criteria. The Duchess may have gone to Disneyland with friends that night, but school records would not show this. The memory's correctness as an official school-organized event was different from what the school said, which highlighted a personal aspect that didn't match up with what was written down. The difference of opinion on one high school tournament may not seem important. Many people mix up or forget how formal things were when they were teenagers. Memory experts have repeatedly shown that time retelling and the inclination to organize a life narrative may modify episodic remembering. The Disneyland incident, combined with questions about school qualifications and a purported diplomatic internship, added to a larger pattern of little anomalies that make people think there is a difference between what is said in public and what is known to be true. The monarchy puts a lot of importance on the truthfulness of its public statements. Mistakes that may not matter in other situations might hurt its image. So even if it was silly, the grad night contradiction turned into an issue for the palace, which removed it from its official story. Changes to Prince Harry's biography also left out or hid controversial information. His time at Eton College and his time at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst were the most important things that were left out. Both cuts got rid of middle cases that had caused controversy and attention, but they didn't question the prince's future public service. Eton College is a perfect example of Britain's educational and public life because of its long history, cultural significance, and famous graduates. Prince Harry went to Eton from 1998 to 2003, which is when many students finish their A-levels. These tests may affect which universities they can get into and what kinds of jobs they can get. For years, some at Eton said that Prince Harry had trouble with the school's academic requirements and needed unusual help to do well. A public incident involving an Eton employee backed up those basic claims. Sarah Forsyth, an art teacher at Eton, alleged in 2005 that her firing was unfair and that she had helped Prince Harry with an A-level painting assignment. Ms. Forsyth took legal action because she was wrongfully fired. During the argument, she showed covertly taped conversations in which the prince supposedly said he had created most of the art project's material. The case got a lot of media attention since it included a well-known person whose involvement made the academic help concerns stand out. Eton and Ms. Forsyth achieved an out-of-court settlement for an undisclosed amount. However, the deal contained confidentiality clauses that made it impossible for the public to judge or explain the charges and the school's reaction. Still, a lawsuit and settlement made claims that the prince had unusual academic help more likely. The Royal Military Academy Sandhurst trains and hires officers for the British Army. This is why Eton's controversial rules and Prince Harry's military career are linked. To get into Sandhurst, you need good grades, personal references, and assessments of your leadership skills. Even though there was a lot of debate over his academic record, some critics thought that the prince's royal heritage could have helped him get into the school. His 10 years of military service and operational expertise, which included 2 deployments to Afghanistan, are highly regarded. This subject examines the requirements for officer training and whether they were met via conventional processes or special arrangements. Before the website was changed, the royal household's official biography made it clear that Prince Harry went to Eton. In October 2025, the palace took Eton out of its official profile and filled in the gap in the story between his youth and military service, getting rid of a controversial part. The new version of the biography shortens early life to military duty and leaves out the school aspects that were causing problems. The removals of the Duchess's profile had the same effect. They separated the institution's official record from controversial information instead of starting a conversation or making things clearer. This absence also changed the public story. The couple's and prince's redemptive journey from Etonian obstacles to military duty was simplified into a more linear timeline, which made it harder to see subtleties or make interpretations. The alterations took place 5 years after the Sussexes retired, which makes the palace's strategic reasoning clear. From 2020 to 2025, the media and information ecology changed. Social media and internet platforms make it easier to look into the claims made by well-known leaders. Former co-workers, grads, and officials with first-hand knowledge used social media blogs, podcasts, and specialized opinion platforms to spread confirmations, denials, and archived data. This decentralized, open-to-all fact-checking made it easier for the people to look into what the administration said. The Wayback Machine, together with countless screenshots and preserved documents, made it possible to examine, compare, and analyze older versions of the royal family's websites long after they had been changed or replaced. The web's permanence turned a prior claim into a trail that anybody could follow and check. In reaction to archive material and public criticism, the royal household tends to put institutional risk management ahead of public involvement. The open way would have meant dealing with each issue in detail, such as fixing errors, giving documented evidence, or making things clear in public when people were confused by vague language or memory gaps. Still, such a scheme would have forced the palace to have long, maybe acrimonious negotiations, which would have drawn attention and made the stories longer. It would have required documented proof media interviews and a public credibility battle involving several parties, likely resulting in a long, expensive, and reputationally damaging process. These kinds of contacts may have made journalists and scholars look at differences in the biographies. In October 2025, the palace chose to remove it. The organization lost its right to control problematic content when it removed controversial parts from its platform. Removal takes away the institution's responsibility to fight allegations, much like a court or administrative proceeding. From a risk management point of view, excision cuts down on exposure right away. Still, the digital information ecosystem technique is not perfect. Deleting comments doesn't get rid of them, and it frequently makes the problems that led to the question worse. When an authority source takes back a public statement, people typically see this as proof that the claim wasn't true. Instead of quietly ending a chapter, the removal becomes a big event that leads to a fresh public probe. The palace's strategic decision and public response highlight the differences between hierarchical institutional communications and decentralized, preserved, and participatory information settings. The monarchy has traditionally used its public relations department to control its image and story. This control was made easier by limiting access to documents of press that followed the rules and selected cultural norms. The internet makes it easier for people to create public information in different places. Former classmates, alumni groups, ex-colleagues, and archive specialists may produce and distribute information that supports challenges or contradicts official accounts. An institution cannot change history without citing the source, as the internet keeps old pictures. The royal household's decision to cut down on its published stories shows how limited top-down editorial control can be. Digital evidence and active citizens hold institutions accountable. It seems like the changes have created a two-tiered information structure for the royal project. The Prince and Princess of Wales and the Duchess of Edinburgh have quite long backgrounds, whereas the Sussexes have much shorter ones. This divide sets an institutional boundary. Working royals who represent the monarchy at official events get greater support from the institution for their lives and careers. Non-working royals, on the other hand, get less assistance since they have stopped doing official duties. Because of this, the changes send a message about who benefits from institutionally approved life stories and how accurate the information is. The consequences are twofold and broader. A thorough official biography gives credibility, context, and support. The palace's decision to take back its imprimatur makes the institution less sure of the person. Non-working royals who have built their own public personas without help from the royal family may find it hard to deal with partners, sponsors, and media organizations that need an official biography to judge them and represent them. On the other hand, keeping detailed biographies for working royals helps to organize institutional resources and protective measures, which helps to create the inner circle and separate those who do not have formal royal obligations. Taking out lengthy, helpful parts from Prince Harry and the Duchess of Sussex's bios changes how others see them. After 2020, the two have focused on sharing their stories on family mental health, racism, and their own experiences. Their humanitarian, journalistic, and other long-term projects have all relied on personal stories. When the basic parts of their stories don't match up with public records or reports from other people, it makes other parts of their stories less believable. Skeptics could wonder whether little changes are merely mistakes, or if they show a bigger trend of exaggeration. Supporters would say that these disparities are due to how people remember things, how they interpret things, and how flexible the story is. The clear retraction of certain assertions makes the prior line of inquiry stronger and makes it harder for the subjects to defend themselves no matter what side they are on. Look at the characteristics of the stories that were thrown away. The deleted documents included tales about the couple's history that were more powerful, complex, and important to institutions than the fact that was kept. Having a dual degree from a well-known institution and working as a diplomat in a city with a lot of violence shows that you are smart and know a lot about the world. A school-sponsored Disneyland grad night story is real and represents a classic American coming-of-age story. A story of a young king who had trouble in school but found meaning and honor in the military is a story of redemption that makes him more human and heroic. Removing such traits could make a life story easier to follow and maybe even more real by making it less dramatic. This simplicity may be more defensible by institutions, but it may also make it harder for public leaders to connect with people via storytelling. The incident not only damages reputations, but it also creates legal and administrative problems for managing biographies and organizational rules. Official biographies balance privacy, public interest, and institutional representation. Communication professionals balance accuracy, privacy, and a suitable public image in all of their work. Organizations must choose whether to change, put in context, sue, or get rid of content that is in dispute. Correction encourages scrutiny and may lead to additional study. Contextualization requires a clear source and elucidation. Litigation is costly, prolonged, and attracts attention. And deletion reduces immediate visibility while affirming doubt. During a moment of increased scrutiny, institutions are forced to make legal and reputational concessions. For example, in October 2025, the palace chose to contain rather than confront. The episode shows how digital records change how memory and power work. Institutions may have quietly changed printed materials before generating digital copies, which made older editions less obvious to anyone who wasn't looking for them. At the moment, every change may be seen, kept, and compared. Digital archiving tools like the Wayback Machine save old websites, but social media spreads news quickly. Because records are permanent, institutions may no longer think that changing a claim would make it go away. Deletion creates a new route that shows change and has to be looked at closely. In this case, keeping institutional memory alive means carefully documenting everything throughout publishing and actively using archive literature and public fact-checking networks. Taking away material instead of adding notes or putting it in context shows power and credibility. In distributed communities, provenance citations and clear sources are very important. This forces organizations that used to use scarcity and gatekeeping to control public knowledge to change. The monarchy has to keep its public biographies cohesive and dignified, even if they are often under close examination and may have factual disagreements. This is because the monarchy relies on continuity, ceremonial authority, and symbolic narratives for its legitimacy. The palace's omission may have prioritized institutional integrity above clear validation. This careful and conservative method minimizes immediate disturbance, but increases doubts about the material's authenticity. There are real trade-offs in communications. The October 2025 update got the media's attention again, had commentators look at earlier arguments again, and gave further study that looked at the reasons for the removals. People who supported the Sussexes thought the removals were unfair since they were an institution punishing a union that disagreed with it or was independent. Opponents thought that the omissions were needed changes to an exaggerated official story. Unbiased observers said that the changes showed how unstable institutional narratives are in the digital age. All of these answers show a paradox. Removing to avoid controversy may actually make things more controversial by bringing up issues that need to be looked at more closely. The incident raises questions regarding institutional responsibility and private remedies. Settlements, confidentiality agreements, and discretionary adjustments may settle disagreements, but they may not make them public. A judicial settlement may exclude specific matters from being litigated in open court while leaving essential concerns unaddressed in the public's perspective. Editorial changes only alter material that is available. They don't change social narratives or archive relics that aren't in official channels. People's perception is shaped by archived sites, information from third parties, and conversations on social media. Government statements and the material that is available around them influence reputation. Thus, it is important to keep going. The palace's choice in October 2025 gives communication experts and executives of organizations a lot to think about. It emphasizes the need for careful fact-checking at the time of publishing. When you compare the cost of doing due diligence checking academic credentials, time frames, and internships or activities against the damage to your reputation that comes from subsequent retractions or deletions, it's quite cheap. Second, even short bios might incorporate notes, timelines, or citations for those who want to learn more. Third, companies need to set clear standards for how to deal with disputed biographical claims that weigh the expenses of staying involved for a long time against the harm to their image that comes from doing nothing. Some of these rules might include quick verification, public clarification procedures, and rules for deleting and sending messages. Institutions can only monitor a limited portion of private life. Privacy, data protection, and people's real desire to keep things private complicate matters. The monarchy must combine personal dignity with public welfare by explaining public obligations and benefits. You must distinguish between what others need to know and what is merely decoration to balance privacy and responsibility. Facts that impact a person's public role should be shared. Those that are inconsequential should be kept private, but not misled. Conclusion: the narrative requires a cultural politics of biography analysis. Modern public life promotes narrative coherence, which signifies a logical life path that relates obstacles to triumphs. Famous individuals sometimes exaggerate their pasts. Thus, life story supporters must verify them. The historical and symbolic importance of a monarchy makes its adoption crucial. The October 2025 modifications demonstrate how rigorous public verification may make personal tales hard to link to institutional backing. In October 2025, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex changed their official biography to reconcile factual uncertainty, institutional risk management, and digital public presence. Remove Northwestern University and degree information to hide the U.S.'s long-term internship. The royal household distanced itself from the embassy in Buenos Aires's contested assertions and removed a school-related report that contradicted records and eyewitness accounts. Eton College avoided a public issue regarding academic aid and a court settlement by not addressing it in Prince Harry's statement. Public criticism increased since these removals were intended due to reputation concerns. The November 2025 website overhaul altered the official narrative and public criticism. The monarchy can control its online appearance, but not how people see, maintain, or view it. The palace formerly gave extensive uncontested life appraisals. Now it had to prove its assertions publicly or face the repercussions. Long institutionally authorized Sussex's pages were removed in favor of brief, less controversial comments. However, this erasure ensured that disagreements fueled public discourse. As powerful as words, omissions on the official site may shape the couple's public narrative for years to come. Cutting expenditures as firms grapple with the long-term impacts of digital transparency is dangerous, as the royal household demonstrated. Deleting anything may temporarily hide it, but it may also create a telltale gap and spark speculation. The episode emphasizes the need for monarchies, universities, corporations, and public institutions to rigorously validate biography claims at publication, maintain transparent archival records, and prepare for the reputational consequences of defending or retracting contentious material. Speaking up, changing your view, or staying silent all affect public memory. The October 2025 alterations will continue to shape how individuals see the people and organization that transformed their tales. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and share it.